if you had invested $1,000 in Shiba Inu in January of 2021, you would be a multimillionaire right now. Shiba has gone to hit recently a market cap of $40 billion. To put that in perspective, the market cap of Twitter is it's something like 40 to 45 billion last I checked. Now, what is this Shiba Inu token or cryptocurrency? It is the absolute epitome of a shitcoin. It it is a meme coin, but it's even worse than that. It's 50% of its supply was apparently donated to Vitalik Buterin, and then Vitalik donated some of that and burned some of it. But of course, he still holds half the supply that he was donated. So that, first of all, that says a lot about Vitalik. That Vitalik takes a shitcoin like Shiba seriously. Can you imagine if Satoshi Nakamoto came out from hiding, if he's still alive, and announced that, he endorses, he holds Shiba, and he started tweeting about it and stuff like that. Can you imagine Satoshi Nakamoto doing that? But here we have Vitalik signaling to the masses that Shiba is to be taken seriously. And the same applies to Elon Musk. Elon Musk has been, he's name dropped Shiba Inu a few times or whatever, and contributed to this massive run up in Shiba's market cap, up to $40 billion. Now, I have to explicitly condemn people like Vitalik and Elon Musk, because they are very powerful people. They have incredible influence. People look up to them as being geniuses in their respective industries, and they are geniuses in their respective industries. No one is denying that. But it is, I believe, it is morally dubious for them to be to be signaling to the masses that these shitcoins are in any way to be taken seriously. But Shiba it is nothing less than an absolute shitcoin. It will not be money. On the website it says, there's the Shiba ecosystem. If you can't see through marketing for what it is, I don't know what to say. I mean, there is no Shiba ecosystem. There is going to be no economy built on Shiba. The idea that this shitcoin is worth Twitter in market cap is obviously ridiculous. So, yeah, I just have to, first of all, condemn people like Vitalik. And I have to say, when I found out that Vitalik was signaling approval or tacitly endorsing Shiba, I have to say, if you're an Ethereum, I would really examine, look into your leader, because he is the leader of Ethereum. And can you imagine Satoshi Nakamoto doing this? No. So I think Shiba says a lot about Vitalik, and Vitalik says a lot about Ethereum. But that's another story. We'll leave that for now. What I want to get into here, now that we've established, just in case anyone was doubting, that Shiba is an absolute shitcoin, the epitome of shitcoin, we have to examine this phenomenon at face value. Because something is going on here. $40 billion. $1,000 turns you into a multimillionaire within a year. What is going on here? Okay, first of all, I'm going to preface this by saying this is not just another speculative bubble that we're talking about. This is something more. We've seen financial bubbles in the past, and we know how their dynamics are driven, but something is different here. When you have let's say the dot-com bubble or the real estate bubble, there is some there's an underlying value proposition to what is being inflated. But what we have here is something with less than intrinsic value. It is something that basically celebrates the fact that it is nothing. That it is just a horse to bet on, a game within a casino. Because that's what we're really dealing with here, with Shiba and Dogecoin and so many others in this so-called cryptocurrency space. It's all a giant casino. I actually view this phenomenon as being intensely nihilistic. It's a form of financial or economic nihilism. It's the admission of the masses that there is no truth or reality to economics, money, or finance anymore. And this admission of this fact, this ritual act that is being conducted by the masses of celebrating this fact, it is intensely nihilistic because it is not just a confirmation that we are no longer tethered to any economic reality, but it is like a giant celebration of that fact. It is this crypto casino is basically a giant blowout party that is being waged by the masses who having acknowledged and accepted that the fiat system has broken. They're just partying now at this point. If the fiat system is broken, why not just throw your cash into a giant casino and see what happens? Now, of course, what happens when the party ends? Well, then you get the hangover. But before we get to that, I want to go back to this nihilism, this nihilism that leads to people throwing all their money into absolute shitcoins, throwing all their money into what is nothing more than a casino. That's all it is. They're just gambling at this point. What is the source of this nihilism? Well, this is where we have to go back in time. We have to go back to March of 2020. Now let's see what the Federal Reserve has written right on their website under the page Reserve Requirements. Let's see this announcement from last year. Quote, as announced on March 15th, 2020, the board reduced reserve requirement ratios to 0%, effective March 26, 2020. This action eliminated reserve requirements for all depository institutions. Now, if we go to the FAQ, we can find an explanation for this. Why did they drop reserve requirements to 0%? Well, they explain that it frees up liquidity in the banking system to support lending to households and businesses. Well, you don't say. For those who aren't entirely familiar with what we're talking about here, let's just emphasize what this means. In March 26, 2020, when reserve requirements went to zero, what that meant was that commercial banks did not have to hold any reserves at all. compared to what they are loaning out. The commercial bank can lend you the money for your house and have $0 in reserve that are the basis for generating that loan. They can loan you $500,000 for your house and print that $500,000 out of thin air because not even a fraction of it is required to be held in reserve. Now, before this moment, there was at least a 10% reserve requirement, which even then is totally insane. So, before this moment in history, in March 2020, a commercial bank at least had to hold $50,000 in reserve when they lent you $500,000 for your house. No more. They don't even need the $50,000 now. There's no tether. There is no leash. They say that they did this to free up liquidity to support lending. Well, yes, that is indeed the case. It sure will work too. If you can lend money and not have to have any reserve, it's we are beyond fractional reserve banking, because fractional reserve banking implies that there's reserves. Now we're just printing to infinity. In March 2020, it was a decision was made. They're going to print to infinity. In the FAQ, what do they say? Is the elimination of reserve requirements permanent? Well, their answer is, currently the board has no plans to reimpose reserve requirements. And to this date, that is the case. So in March 2020, something historic occurred. It is very similar to when Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard in August of 1971. There was an announcement. He made an address to the nation explaining that this happened. But at the time, I suspect most people did not really realize what occurred. They did not understand the implications. However, it was not long after this event, Nixon taking the U.S. off the gold standard, it's not long after that the consequences of that began to manifest in the economy. And I don't want to get too much into the history of what happened in the 70s, but it was typified by stagflation. It was a time of high inflation and a contracting economy, and that was a very difficult decade. During that time, silver went from a couple dollars, and it was squeezed up to $50. That was a reaction to the U.S. going off of the gold standard. That period of turmoil was only broken. That death spiral was only broken by Federal Reserve Chairman Paul Volcker hiking the Fed funds rate up past 20%. And that's what broke the inflation. That's what broke the death spiral. And that's what set up the 80s to be a period of prosperity. Right? However, that cannot occur. That same harsh medicine cannot be prescribed by the Federal Reserve to fix a problem with inflation. Right now, the Fed funds rate, which is the rate that commercial banks pay to borrow money, is 8 basis points. 0.08. It's essentially zero. You have 0% Fed funds rate. You have 0% reserve requirement. You are inflating to infinity at that point. If they were to raise the Fed funds rate from 8 basis points to 100 to just 1%, it very well could crash the entire economy and financial system to just 1%, because it's flatlined. It has essentially been flatlined since the 2008 financial crisis. It rose to about 2.4% in 2019. There's that little period where they were raising interest rates. And then the event in 2020 occurred, and we're right back down to a total flatline. To a total flatline in interest rates, along with a historic moment in which reserve requirements were just eliminated altogether. Printing to infinity. And not hiding it. Everyone knows this is what is occurring. Paul Volcker raised interest rates to 20%. Short-term federal funds rate to 20% in 1980. We can't even go to 1%. It's game over. The financial system as we know it, the fiat currency system as we know it, March 2020, that was it. It is broken beyond repair. I believe that the Federal Reserve bringing reserve requirements to 0% in conjunction with essentially 0% interest rates. This is the source of the nihilism that I was describing before, because the masses, they may not realize, they may not know the details, the technical details. They may not know what a reserve requirement is, or that it was dropped to 0. They may not know what a Fed funds rate is, or how low it is, and how it's just been flatlined for a decade. The masses don't know these things, but there is a collective intelligence there. There's a sort of hive mind that does recognize that something's broken. That something has broken, and it's irreparable. And I think the masses recognize this unconsciously, and it is manifesting in this nihilism that we see, manifesting in the shitcoin casinos, in Shiba, in SafeMoon, in Dogecoin. These phenomenons of utter shitcoins, which is just, it is nothing that celebrates being nothing and features it as a badge of honor, going to $40 billion market cap. This is not just a bubble. This is the end of the financial system as we know it. This is not even 1928. This is 1929, right on the precipice of a catastrophic collapse of the whole system. Because this is the blow-off top. I believe that is what we are witnessing right now. It is a phenomenal blow-off top like we've never seen before. Because when fiat currency, when fractional reserve banking isn't even fractional anymore, it's just printing into infinity. When that occurs, it does not take long before you start to see the economy and the financial system begin to warp. I've said this before. It's like you're crossing the event horizon of a black hole. If you've seen Interstellar, what happens? The laws of physics begin to bend. We are seeing the laws of financial physics bend and warp and break, and things that make no sense are occurring. If you are playing in this casino, you need to understand why there's so many jackpots that are occurring in this casino. Why so many people are winning jackpots. it is because the financial system is essentially it already collapsed. It is already game over. And it is just the last blow off top before I believe things could get really bad. I can't predict the future, and I can't make any I can't put a timeline on these things. All I can do is report what I am seeing, and I am seeing anomalies that are very disturbing, and which indicate that we are on the very precipice of something big. And to conclude, I would say, if you are playing in this casino, you have to recognize that when the music stops and things go from party to hangover, any money you have in the casino, tied up in the casino, in Shiba, in meme coins, pretty much in any, I would say, in anything except safe haven assets, you're in trouble. You will lose everything. You'll be wiped out. Casino profits are only real when you cash them out for real money and walk out of the casino. If you're sitting on some casino profits right now, you need to consider going for the exits before everyone else does. It's not panic if you're the first to run for the exit. You need to consider what safe haven assets to get into. I believe Bitcoin, within the cryptocurrency space, is the only real safe haven asset. And also, I am making a prediction. I've made this prediction before. I believe that if and when there is substantial problems that begin to occur in relation to the fiat currency legacy financial system, that unlike the past when Bitcoin has crashed along with the stock market, I believe that Bitcoin is going to be seen as a safe haven asset. Shiba is not. Shitcoins are not. The cryptocurrency casino is not. There is one value to Shiba. There is one utility, and it is as a canary in the coal mine. Shiba is telling us something. It is telling us that something is wrong, something is broken, and that it would appear very close to something big. And the time to position yourself before what is coming is now. There will not be an opportunity to position yourself once the event occurs. And I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what the event will be that triggers the crisis, that ends the party. The last nihilistic party before the hangover, before the ship sinks. I don't know what that event will be. All I know is that Shiba and shitcoins and the whole casino, it seems to be signaling to us that the party is at its zenith and it can only go down from here. Position yourself accordingly.